The Blades Ramble is proudly sponsored by My Business Group, a group of brands designed to support owners, leaders and managers in business. Contact mybusinessgroup.co.uk for more information or follow the link in the description below.
Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and this is 10-minute transfers. And that is what we're here for today. This morning, it's to talk about potential transfers. Now, I know there is a little bit of news that we talked about very early yesterday. Took a big risk. And I've seen some of the comments online about, all this sort of jumping on the bandwagon, trying to get things started. I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't trust who I'd spoken to, and there wasn't serious merit for it. I do think I've been vindicated a little bit by other big news sources reporting the same thing. Clearly not found it from the Blades Ramble, but I think that gives merit to some of the conversations that are ongoing. It does look like Chris Wilder's future is. I don't think he'll be our manager going forward. I hope I'm wrong. But again, I stand by everything I said yesterday. And thank you to those people that trusted me to put that information out as well. Not just trusted me with that information, but trusted me to put it out as well. Because, that's them supporting our platform. And thank you to the nearly 19,000 people that were watching live. It's just incredible. Could never stand up in front of 19,000 people and do anything. So to sit here in my studio, that Ramble HQ, and talk to you all about it is crazy. So we are here. We've got a 10-minute hard out. We're 2 minutes in already, so I may be a little bit more flexible on the time that we do today, because obviously it's a big time period for Sheffield United. And something that's already been mentioned in the comments when I advertised this show was, do transfers potentially all change now if the manager, and it's still an if, but if the manager changes? Yeah, could do. But I think part of the speculation in it, we discussed heavily on Hot Topic last night, is that the new ownership might be wanting to move to a newer model. Might be. And again, we're speculating because there's no blueprint for what they've done. And they might want a structure in place where things can tick over and turn over without a manager leading the way as the focal point of everything. Might be a technical director, a sporting director. So there might be transfers that in the future go on no matter who's in charge. So again, I don't want to get too far off subject. I will take some comments on whatever topic you want, because of the circumstances we're in at the minute. But I can't. I'm not going to go loads longer than 10 minutes. So first up, Harry, darling. I'm going to talk about this and not get it out of the way, because I still think it's an underwhelming rumor for a lot of people. This, and I get it, but I don't get it in other ways. I don't think it's a glamorous. Jimmy Dunn has been built up to be viewed as one of the best, certainly right backs at the moment in the division. I think his stature helps that in terms, not necessarily how tall he is, because I don't think he is. I suppose he is. I think that was a misconception at one stage. Big, strong, right back at the minute, can play centre half on a free. Picked up a load of awards for QPR. Under the radar, and so I can see why Jimmy Dunn's linked, and people are positive about that link. Harry Darling, can I call him Harry Darling? That just shows, doesn't it? Harry Darling, he's not getting the same adulation, the same excitement around him, and I understand it. He's at Swansea, similar level club, I would say, at the moment to QPR. So, and I don't necessarily think they're similar players. I think Harry Darling's probably a little bit more cultured, whereas Jimmy Dunn's a little bit more rough and ready as a footballer. I am going to look at some of his stats just because, and rightly, you'd be right to pull me on when we did the City Peck video earlier in the week. I did sort of push back on some of the stats because City Peck's stats weren't great. And we have given him the eye test, and we know that City Peck's had a really good season. That doesn't mean he's one of the best in the league yet. I certainly think there's the potential to be that. But we would certainly sign CD Peck on the eye test, wouldn't we, if he was available? So I don't give so much credence to just pure stats. But for players that we don't know, it does give you an idea of what we're looking at. And Harry Darling, who is, despite the incredible puns that we'll be able to use on this channel, his stats stack up really well. He's got 5 goals and 3 assists, so 8 goal contributions for a centre-back. So he's a threat at set pieces, because I remember seeing a couple of his goals were from corners. He's got a very high average rating across the season. He continuously plays 90 minutes. Centre-halves tend to do this, obviously, but he plays throughout the games. He has got a red card. I can't remember who that were against. Oh, yes, Sheffield United. So he got a red card for a ridiculous challenge on Ryan Brewster, I think it was. But 4 yellow cards. Now, obviously, taking that red card out of the equation just for a second, 4 yellow cards for a centre-back is a really strong record. He's only 25 years old. He is right-footed, which obviously wouldn't jive with what we're after. I mean, we do need centre-halves. I'm not saying he would necessarily come in and be our best centre-half, but I think he's a really strong option for us. He's outperformed his expected goals, so he was expected to score 4.5 goals. I know you can't half goals, but this is just to let you know. And I just touch on the basic stats here because I'm not a stat man either. He outperformed how many assists he was supposed to get. He's fairly successful dribbling the ball out of play. More often, he gets it right more often than he doesn't. His tackles won percentage isn't great, which obviously for a defender is a concern. He wins 2/3 of his duels and almost 2/3 of his aerial duels as well. So I think it's a really smart. He's coming for no transfer fee. I'm always reluctant to say a free transfer because we know that that's not the case. The more interest he gets, the more leverage he has as a player, and that potentially ups the price of the sign-on fee instead of a transfer fee. So I think as a proven championship defender who's getting higher than 7 out of 10 across the season for his performances all year, I don't think it's a bad option as either. I think it's a fairly cheap option for us in the grand scheme of things. He can't be on a huge wage at Swansea. I'm sure he's heavily linked with Norwich now because Liam Manning's gone to Norwich as the new manager from Bristol City, and they were together at MK Dons and had a really successful time together. So they've worked together before, and I would now put Norwich probably in the driving seat to sign Harry Darling. Depends what sort of push they're going to go for this year. I would consider Norwich in and around the playoff pack. If they're going to go for it and put a really strong squad together, he likely chooses Norwich over us because I think he's more likely to start for Norwich. Depends how much money we're willing to offer him to be the 12th, 13th, 14th man in our squad. So that's Harry Darling. Around this time, I would start to wrap up the video. I understand that, but we have got a few comments coming in. I like to do these as it's been suggested to me, and I prefer it this way to do recorded videos as 10-minute transfers. So I'll record it probably the night before usually. And then we're going to try tonight and go live and do like an open discussion about the transfers of the week. Now, that might get hijacked. Whether a decision from United has been made or not, that might get hijacked with a different topic of conversation. And I understand it because that's what people want to talk about. But the general rule going forward, whoever our manager is, will be we'll do 10-minute transfers as a recorded series, if you like. So 10-minute bursts of videos, if we can. This is just a rough plan because it's as close to getting organised as the Ramble gets. And then at the minute, I've got it in my head to do a Friday night as like a transfer wrap-up show that'll be live that people can get involved with and discuss the rumours that we've talked about all week. So yeah, let's have a look at some of the comments before we let ourselves get carried away. Morning, Jimmy, the sort of player we should be looking at to add to bolster our defence. Thank you, Lewis. And thank you for joining our... in fact, I need to check the Blades Ramble account. Lewis has just become a Platinum Rambler. Thank you, pal. I'll get you in that group today. Bristol City have been interested for a while, so likely Manning will want him at Norwich. Up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Absolutely right, pal. That's exactly how it's going to go, I think. I think that's what we can expect. And as I say, I think they're probably favourites. Home Funk says, even if Wilder was going to stage him, there's surely no way he can stay now. We're already veering, aren't we, into different topics of discussion. I think there becomes a point where it's untenable, and that's not. We're not there yet. We're not there yet at all. But there's been no. You'd think that if this wasn't right, what I'd been told wasn't right, and if what I'm telling you isn't right, and what all the papers are talking about now, then moves would be made quickly to squash it, or rectify it, or make a decision either way. Nothing's happened. It's in limbo, isn't it? Which is very awkward. Still no news on Wilder, says Scott. That train's never late. You're always here, aren't you, pal, to bring this up, bring these sort of things up. Only confirmation is that the board meeting has been held over his future, but I think after yesterday's outcry, things may change. We'll see. I hope, Jimmy, hope you're good, mate. Everyone like and subscribe. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Home Funk says, no need to justify your videos, Jimmy. Majority of people enjoy the content. Your page definitely brings Unitedites together. Ignore the 3 or 4 miserable farts. Thank you, Home Funk. It's something I'm working on. I never want to focus on the negativity. And it is very few and far between, I have to say, and I'm really appreciative of that. Because we always try and just be positive. The thing that gets me is I never go out to upset anybody. Never go out to upset anybody. I don't think... To the best of my knowledge, I don't insult people. I don't target anybody. Why would I? But then it's easy for people to have a pop. And I'm coming to realise that some people just want the attention. I still don't like it, though. I'm probably a bit too sensitive for this game, to be honest. But I do enjoy it too much to let it knock me in any way. We are still full steam ahead as a channel. And that's where we'll go. So... Brett says, Darling and Dunn are solid additions to any squad in this league. Completely agree. The only question I think with Harry Darling is, if Sheffield United want him, how much do we want him? Because I've no doubt we could outbid Norwich in terms of what we can offer him as a package. But how much do we want him? Are we going to offer him a starting spot? Are we going to make him one of our main boys? Is he good enough to be one of our main boys at the very top of the Championship, which is where we're aiming to be? Interesting conversation. In 10 hours' time, he'll be gone. Apparently, there's a meeting at 12 to discuss his future, says Walt. Hi, Jimmy. Hope you're well after yesterday's breaking news. I think our loan signing loan signings are going to be vital this season. I think I completely agree, Kev. I think one of the very few, not criticisms, but question marks over last season were some of the loan signings. And I think that's justified, really. I think your loan signings should always be better than what you could attain on a permanent deal, because you're striving for what you can't get through the door on a permanent. And people will have the argument that, yeah, but surely you want to secure those assets and you want to go that extra mile with your investment. But Burnley are a perfect example of how to do this. And we've praised Leeds United a lot on this channel this season, and rightly so. They both finished on 100 points. But Burnley pulled off a real coup in certainly Marcus Edwards, but they did it with Jadon Anthony. They did it with Zian Fleming. They got loan players for minimum down payment and probably a hefty wage on all of them. But an option would always be best, but an obligation to buy on promotion. Sunderland did it with Enzo Lafay as well. So they are keeping that nucleus of the squad together. It's not going to be they go up and then they lose 3 or 4 loan players that have got them there. They go up and then they've still got those players to as part of the squad. Yes, they've taken a big chunk out of the budget for the season, but it's players that they want. And because they perform so well, you can bet your bottom dollar that they've probably been paying more for Marcus Edwards if they wanted to negotiate at the end of the season than they did from the original deal that they negotiated. So LH says, Liam Rossini or Ruben Sellers to replace Wilder then? Is that your preference? Have you got a preference between the two? I love Liam Rosenior. I think he's slightly out of reach, if I'm honest, doing really well in France with Strasbourg. But I would love Liam Rosenior. He would be my first choice if we end up replacing Wilder, which I think we will, unfortunately. And I have to again caveat everything. And I won't keep doing this with everything I say, but I would like to keep Chris Wilder. I think he is the best man for the job. I absolutely love Chris Wilder. But if we are making a change, Liam Rosenior would be my shout. Walter says no thanks to those two. Dyche is still favourite to take over according to the bookies. Last I checked, he was 11-4. See, Sean Dyche, I've talked about Sean Dyche a lot because of the realistic options. I would like Sean Dyche. Sean Dyche is not going to be coming in playing explosive front foot thinking for whatever. He's not going to play front foot football, is he? Or certainly that's not what we're used to seeing from him. But I think he will get the job done, and that's probably a very, to a degree, an uninspired choice. But we'll see. I can't go on too much longer, but because 10-minute transfers, I'm just absolutely making a mockery of it. To be honest, this would have been a recorded video had StreamYard not exploded last night. So we were due to go on Hot Topic live last night at 7 o'clock. That's our Patreon exclusive show. So we went on Hot Topic, and then we were going to do an hour like we always do. And then I was going to set it up to be posted on Saturday, and then I'd record today's video about Harry Darling, and then set that up to go this morning at 10 o'clock. All good, everything sorted. StreamYard and Google had a global outage, so we couldn't get on Hot Topic till 9:30. And then we didn't really get off the call till 11 o'clock, or gone 11 o'clock. So I was beat, and I thought, right, it's just going to have to be a live tomorrow. And there will be people that want to talk about other things, clearly. Signings from the Championship have a known ceiling, says Josh, whereas signings from other countries and leagues might have a lower floor, but the possible upside is much higher. Not in every case. That's a sweeping stereotype, Josh, but more often than not, I would probably agree with that. Steve says, Jimmy, I'm feeling so frustrated. This so-called split at the lane needs sorting quick, and they need to get back to preparing for the season. All this speculation is just not good for the club. Just don't get it, I assume you mean. If my position is under review at work, and thankfully I'm not in this position anymore because I've jumped out of the corporate world, but if my position was under review at work and I felt that it was a decision between 7 people and 3 of them didn't want me there, even if I survive, I'm not comfortable in that environment. So it's tricky. Sky says, think all the work done by you guys on transfers so far maybe for nothing. I think the new owners have a unique, strange American footy formula of running an English footy club. I have bad vibes. I hope I'm wrong. You could be right, Sky, in terms of the transfers we've done to date. There was certainly a lot of... all the names we've mentioned have been linked in one form or fashion. Whether that's LinkedIn or linked to LinkedIn, Blaze Rambles on LinkedIn, or linked away. But that may now go into the ether, might it? We don't know whether it's going to be a completely different strategy. So Lee reckons he's going to Norwich. Yeah, I think there's a strong possibility that happens now. He has been linked to United. We are definitely in the mix, or we've spoken to his representatives. Brett says, not transfer talk, but Dortmund's structure is one to copy. So throw some money about and get Edin Terzic in and build a project. It will be Dyche, though, says Brett. Yeah, we're talking about this. Brett was on Hot Topic last night with us as one of our Platinum Ramblers. I think it was Lee that first threw out the name of Edin Terzic. And yeah, I think I said bless you when Lee mentioned his name, because I've not heard of him, in all honesty. But my knowledge of the European game these days, it used to be fairly decent, but it's poor now. Wait till Football Manager 2025 comes out, and then we'll have another pop at that. Did your third source get back to you, Jimmy? Yes, they did, Scott. Yes, they did. Big Tony says, I don't know how right it is, but I got told yesterday evening that all the players have been told to report back a week earlier than they were told in their last team meeting. Right, okay. Okay, don't know that, pal. Lee says, if Wilder goes, I don't care who we sign, the club can stick it. This is whether I think it were Rich that jumped on and were a first-time commenter yesterday on our stream, and he was saying similar. If If he is to go, then they can stuff it. And I do think Lee, yourself, and Rich will come back round because ultimately we all support Sheffield United. It's never Chris Wilder will be the first to tell you it's not Chris Wilder FC, and you will not get a bigger fan. And I'm not saying it's a Tommy Topper thing, but I am as big a Chris Wilder fan as the next man. I bang on about him to the point where it's hard sometimes not to be biased towards him. I think what he gives our club levels him up from other managers because there's an X factor about having not only a blade at the helm, but a very successful blade at the helm. He's not only one of us, but he is our most successful manager of the modern era. So for him to depart is a huge thing for a lot of us. And it'll take people time to get used to it if it does come to fruition, which I think it will. I'm not sure dribbling the ball out of play is a desirable quality. But true, Rich, true. But you say that, and Nell often gets the crowd off their feet when he does it. So Rio Ferdinand was one of the best at it. I do love it when Anel does that. It does make us slightly vulnerable, but he's very good at it. So I think there's reason for mentioning it. Big Tony, Scott replying to Tony, only reason players are recalled early is a change of staff and possibly meet and greet in my eyes. Can't we bring Harry back? Says Walt. Morning, says Dan. Darling, Dunn, Suter, Burrows, our new back four. You ain't got. Oh yeah. I was going to say you ain't got a right back in there, but of course you have. Jimmy Dunn plays right back. Silly me. That's my misreading of that. Harry Suter is going to be out until October, November time at latest reports. He will, unfortunately, because he would be the ideal signing for Sheffield United. Harry Suter. Sweet spot. It's a non-starter for August. He won't be fit till October, November. Thank you, Scott. Dyche is wanted by Leicester. Leicester will have potentially, well, we don't know, again, because of the ownership issue at Sheffield United. I think Leicester will have more money to play with than Sheffield United. I think Leicester will have more money to chuck at him, potentially. I'm not sure there would be an attractive proposition. I think they're in a bit of a mess, Leicester. So I wouldn't rule us out if it was a straight shoot between us two. The other consideration is, I think Ipswich may be looking for a manager sooner rather than later. So if we are going to get a manager, I'd like to get in quickly if we're going to be doing this, because if Ipswich are in the market, they'll be going for a similar ilk of manager to us. Wonder who pushed the news, Wilder's team or the split side of the board? Max says United announced he's leaving, and some bloke named Carabao, the drink, is taking over on X now. Don't do that to me. Also, Graham Bailey, quite reliable, says Dunn and Mepham are close. Yeah. Dunn certainly is. I know we're very interested in Mepham. I don't know how close Mepham is. We're not linked with this player, but I wouldn't mind seeing Jason Malumbi in a red and white shirt. Very good player. Another one that Lee mentioned to me a while back does a lot of the undesirable things, goes about his business without being noticed much. I agree, Brad. He would be ideal if we lost Vinny, for example. I think he tidies things up really well. Not quite the same profile of player, but does a similar job. Lee says, Liam Rossini 100% for me, but it seems that the owners may have already picked their man. We were speculating on Hot Topic last night, and if you haven't seen it already, it'll be released at 6 o'clock tomorrow. So some interesting discussion about what we think has happened, and this is purely speculative at this stage. But a lot of the conversation was around why, if they're not convinced by Wilder, why not do it directly after the playoff final? And if they are 50-50, then why? Because we were 3 weeks behind anyway due to the playoffs, and then we're another 3 weeks on from that. So we're 6 weeks for a new manager to come in and make a difference. So to me, that indicates, and this is only speculative, is that they are speaking to another manager, and now they've had a nod, and then they're willing to make the decision. That's just an interpretation that's come from no sources. Win, lose or draw, will always come back for more. Love Wilder and will be gutted if he's gone, but I'm a Blade first and foremost, the same as Wilder. Absolutely right, Brett. Lampard for me, if Wilder goes, says Chris, big name, star quality. That's a concern of mine, not Lampard particularly, but if they go for a name rather than a proven manager. if they went for a Steven Gerrard because of the global appeal of the name of Steven Gerrard, that's just an example, rather than a John Eustace. And I'm not saying John Eustace is the man to do it, but John Eustace is a much better manager than Steven Gerrard, particularly at championship level, and that's my opinion. And that is a danger, I think, that we're in. Frank Lampard, I've never been a huge fan, but I think, to be honest, he's turned me around a little bit with the job he's done at Coventry. I think and that would likely mean if he goes to Sheffield United, which, isn't completely out of the question, could we poach another from Cov? Does that mean he brings Jack Redoni or Bobby Thomas with him? Sorry, Matt SB. Sorry, pal. I'm still up for doing some content, don't worry. Lampard, no thanks as well. We have missed out on Wirtz. He has signed for Liverpool. Oh, David, why are you coming here with the negatives? We're so close, so close. Knowing our luck, we'll end up with Ted Lasso. Absolutely. And Steve says, love the show, Jimmy. Love the show. Keep going, Jimmy. Thank you, mate. Yeah, we will keep going. Of course we will. It's been absolutely incredible. And we've got so many new subs yesterday as well, which were really positive. And thank you to everybody that joined us yesterday. We will be all over what's happening at the Lane. As I say, my plan at the moment, we're going to be at Caravan tonight, so I've got to get it past Mrs. Ramble. But the plan tonight is to go live around 7 o'clock. Might be a little bit later than that. Well, this is why you subscribe to the Ramble and keep your notifications on. I might get the odd Platinum Ramble because I do miss 90 after 90. So in the closed season, so we might get the odd Platinum Ramble on for their choice as well. Their sort of discussion around it. Just let me finish off these odd comments. Our biggest focus should be having a control in the middle. Players like Joe Williams and Matt Grimes are what's needed to link between defence and attack whilst adding control. That's fair, Steve. How often have we banged on about Matt Grimes on this channel? Not just me, but people coming on and suggesting him. I think he would have been a great signing. We've missed the boat on it, I think. I also think, to be honest, we are stacked in central midfield for talent. Wouldn't mind Alfie Doughty and Tanith Chong from Luton if we can get him for a decent deal. Yeah, I like both players, but they would probably be more for competition rather than to start. So it'd have to be a low fee, to be honest. Second tier, Dad said, second tier did a great podcast yesterday about Leicester and how much money they've wasted and how far in debt they are. I think they'll struggle this season. My man seems to be gaining traction. Leroy Rossignol. Yes, we get Leroy Rossignol out of retirement. Forget his son. Have Sheffield United got Darling? Not yet, Darling. We have been linked with him. A lot of early on, it was some of us manifesting it as a smart bit of business. Since then, we have genuinely been linked. I haven't had the chance to have a look at sourcing it, so that's why I haven't put anything on screen or quoted anybody today. But there's genuine interest from Sheffield United, and I think prior to Liam Manning going to Norwich, we would have been the favourites to get him. But again, as I've discussed earlier, I think Norwich might be at the front of the queue at the moment. Morning, Jimmy. No Lampard or Gerrard. That's going backwards. Wilder is still the best option. Don't disagree, Michael. Josh says, I really hoped Wilder leaving was just paper talk. Can't believe he's actually going to be sacked. Hard to be positive with all he's done for the club. This AI model really seems to be silly. It's like they're playing footy manager in real life. Yeah, you won't be the only one to feel that, Josh. If it happens, I have to keep sort of underpinning it with that. Hi, Jimmy. The people who know you trust you. Top man. Thank you, Martin. Appreciate it. I know that, mate. Like it's not. It doesn't have to be that deep. I am working hard to breeze over some of the and I'm talking a handful of people in a sea of support. But that's just human nature, isn't it? That you look at those who are trying to pull you down and. But I'm good. All good, honestly. Today's a bit of a challenging day, so I'm going to keep busy today. We're going to go away with the family. Hopefully go live tonight and get sorted. Doku. Yeah, let's get Doku in. Yeah, we could do a winger. Leicester aren't in debt, by the way. Okay, fair dues. That's contradicting something that's been said by second tier then. What's happening to Dunn? Again, when we were doing these videos, I think we've been saying on channel though for a while that since January, it's pretty much been wrapped up. And we were saying that back then. Whenever football is a crazy thing, and no more so can I tell you that since starting a channel. Because you can be sitting at the desk with a pen in your hand, ready to sign the contract, and something can change. So Chris Wilder is still the manager of Sheffield United, and the same vein as this question is coming. There could be, I kept saying yesterday on the stream, there could be a U-turn. There could be a U-turn. I can only tell you the honest thing that's happening at the minute is they are working out potentially making a change. But that could change, as could the Jimmy Dunn deal, because if Chris Wilder goes, who has personally chased Jimmy Dunn for a long time, then Jimmy Dunn might look at other options. You know, he might have something from Southampton on the table, for example. And well, I was going to sign at Sheffield United because I wanted to play for Chris Wilder, but I don't even know who's going to be manager there now. So even though I would say it's more than 95% done for Jimmy. It could all come around again, because that is, as they say, is football. Matt says, what a mess. I wanted him to stay, and I think we'd have done it with him. Not one of the potential names excites me. After all this, there can be no turning back, as they can't fully support him. I think that's where we're heading to an untenable situation, aren't we? Staying strong, Jimmy. You are the man. Love the ramble. Thank you, David. Lovely way to end. No, I appreciate everyone's support, and the new subs are all welcome. Thank you to everybody that's recently signed up to our Platinum chat recently. We've had a bit of a cleanse, it's probably fair to say, and it's a very positive place at the moment overall. So thank you to everyone. Really appreciate you. Join us tonight. I think it's going to be tonight, but get your notification bell on to confirm the time. And we'll probably see you there. I'm going to sign off now by saying, love you, Mum. Come on, you red and white wizards. Up the